okay, letting go, it's like one of those phrases you hear all the time, right?
Stuff that way.
But, in this world where everyone's obsessed with achieving and like doing more, more, more,
Hmm.
it can feel kind of backwards. Like, are we supposed to just give up on everything?
Yeah, I can see that. But
Like, what if I told you that letting go strategically could actually be the key to, you know,
yeah.
unlocking a whole other level of peace,
Hmm.
clarity, even resilience?
Totally.
That's actually what we're diving into today. Like how letting go, not as surrender, but as uh, a deliberate practice, I guess, can
Yes.
lead to a more fulfilling life, for anyone.
Absolutely. And you hit a really key point right off the bat there.
Oh, yeah.
That distinction between giving up and letting go,
Uh-huh.
it's subtle, but crucial,
Yeah.
really.
Okay.
Like giving up implies defeat,
Right.
but letting go, and this is something the source material we're looking at really emphasizes about recognizing when something,
Yeah.
even something that was once valuable to you, maybe
Yeah.
it's no longer serving you,
Yeah.
and making this conscious choice to release it.
It's like decluttering your mental and emotional closet, right?
Perfect analogy.
And the source, they make a really compelling case for why this even matters.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they lay out 5 unexpected benefits of letting go.
Oh, wow.
The first one they talk about is inner peace.
Okay, inner peace.
I'll be honest, I'm always a little skeptical, when I hear those find your inner peace mantras.
I get that.
But the way they connect it to letting go in this source, it like actually makes sense.
Oh, interesting.
How so?
What they're getting at is that, like, when we try to control everything,
Yeah.
outcomes, possessions, even people,
Mm-hmm.
you just create so much internal tension,
Yeah.
anxiety.
Right.
Letting go, though,
Yeah.
it allows space for acceptance to kind of come in.
Okay.
It's about realizing you can't control everything
Yeah.
and finding a sense of calm amidst all the chaos.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
I'm starting to see how that could lead to their second benefit, which is emotional freedom.
Okay, yeah.
And the source, they give this example of a woman who was carrying around a grudge against her brother for like decades.
Oh, wow.
And it was really impacting her relationships, her health,
Mhm.
everything.
Yeah.
But when she finally decided to let go of that resentment, it was like a huge weight was lifted off her shoulders,
Vaguely, yeah.
She actually describes it as feeling lighter,
Uh-huh.
more joyful.
Mm-hmm.
And she was finally able to connect with her brother again in a genuine way.
It's amazing how, like, holding on to those past hurts,
Yeah.
grudges, resentments, it just weighs us down so much emotionally.
Yeah.
And letting go of those negative emotions, it's like it frees up so much energy,
Right.
And then suddenly you can experience relationships in a totally new way.
It's like you make space for compassion and empathy to come in, right?
That's it. Exactly.
And that leads us to the third benefit, enhanced clarity.
Clear.
Now, I'll admit, this one surprised me a little bit at first.
Really, why?
Well, because I'm like, what does letting go have to do with making clearer decisions? Like, what's the connection?
That's a great question. And the source argues that it's by letting go of all that mental clutter,
Yeah.
the shoulds and ought tos and those limiting beliefs we carry around.
Mm-hmm.
It's by letting those go that we're able to better connect with our true, authentic selves.
Mm-hmm.
And then we can make choices that are really aligned with our values.
Oh, okay.
They even shared a story about this man. He was miserable in his corporate job,
Yeah.
but he was terrified to let go of that security,
Right.
the good salary.
Mm-hmm.
But it wasn't until he actually took the risk and quit that he realized his real passion was woodworking.
Mm-hmm.
And he ended up building this successful business doing something he loved.
That's awesome.
He felt so much more fulfilled.
That's a pretty dramatic example, but I can see how letting go of like those fears and limiting beliefs, it could open up all kinds of possibilities.
Absolutely.
It's like if you're clinging to what you think you should be doing,
Right.
you might miss out on what you're really meant to do.
Exactly.
So true.
And speaking of resilience, that's the fourth benefit they highlight.
Okay, resilience.
Now, you might think that letting go would make you less resilient.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I could see that.
But they actually make a really strong argument for the opposite.
Okay, yeah, I'm curious. How does letting go actually make you more resilient?
Well, they use this analogy of a tree bending in the wind.
Okay.
If a tree is rigid,
Yeah.
it's way more likely to snap under pressure, right?
Right, right.
But a tree that's flexible can bend with the wind,
Yeah.
adapt to whatever's happening around it.
Mm.
And letting go It's kind of like that.
Okay.
It cultivates that flexibility,
Yeah.
that inner strength to bounce back from all the challenges.
Okay, that's a powerful image.
Yeah.
You know, it makes me think about all the times I've tried to control things and ended up feeling like so frustrated and overwhelmed. Maybe letting go would actually help me navigate those situations with more grace and like ease.
That's exactly the point.
Hmm.
And finally, we come to the fifth benefit. Spiritual growth.
Spiritual growth.
Now, I know this can sound a little,
Yeah.
a little out there for some people.
Yeah.
But the source, they ground it in some really practical ideas.
Okay.
So how do they define spiritual growth in this context of letting go?
They describe it as becoming less attached to like material possessions,
Okay.
ego-driven desires, and more connected to something bigger than ourselves. It's about recognizing our interconnectedness, with all things, and tapping into a deeper sense of purpose and meaning.
Wow, okay.
They even quote a Buddhist teacher who says, the root of suffering is attachment. So by letting go of those attachments,
we open ourselves up to more peace, more joy, and a more, I guess, expansive way of experiencing the world.
that's pretty profound.
Yeah.
So we've got inner peace, emotional freedom, enhanced clarity, increased resilience, and spiritual growth.
Wow.
These are like some pretty big claims for simply letting go.
Right.
But, okay, how do we actually put this into practice?
Yeah, that's the million-dollar question.
It all sounds great in theory, but I'm guessing it's not always easy to just, like, decide to let go of things, right?
You are absolutely right. It's not always easy, and that's why the source actually dives into some practical techniques for cultivating this whole practice of letting go.
Oh, okay.
They cover a wide range of approaches, but let's maybe focus on a few that I think could be particularly beneficial, for you.
Okay, yeah, sounds good. What have you got?
Well, first up is mindfulness meditation.
Okay.
Now, I know you're a busy person.
Yeah, always on the go.
But even taking like just a few minutes every day to practice mindfulness can really make a difference.
I've heard of mindfulness meditation, but I'll be honest, I always thought it was more about like stress reduction than actually letting go.
Okay, yeah.
How do they connect the two?
Well, they emphasize that mindfulness is all about learning to observe your thoughts and feelings without judgment. It's kind of like watching clouds drift by.
Okay.
You acknowledge them, but you don't cling to them,
Yeah.
And as you develop this ability to simply observe your thoughts,
Yeah.
you also develop the ability to let go of the ones that aren't serving you,
Interesting.
especially those negative or anxious thoughts
Right.
that can keep us stuck.
Okay. Yeah, I can see how that could be really helpful. Instead of getting caught up in those thought spirals, you're learning to create a little space between you and your thoughts. It's like, oh, there's that anxious thought again. I see you, but I'm not going to let you run the show.
Exactly. It's a practice, not a perfect destination,
Right.
And the more you practice it, the more you cultivate that ability to let go.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Now, I know you're also a big fan of journaling.
I am, yes.
And the source actually talks about that as another powerful technique for letting go.
Oh, cool.
They suggest using journaling as a way to, like, process emotions and experiences that you might be holding on to.
It's all about getting those thoughts and feelings out of your head, and onto the page.
Right.
They even share this journaling prompt that I think could be really helpful.
Oh, what is it?
It's, what is one thing I'm ready to let go of today? And it could be anything, a grudge, a worry, a limiting belief.
Yeah.
Anything that's weighing you down. And writing about it can really help you gain clarity and perspective.
Right.
And make it easier to just release it.
I love that. It's like you're transferring that emotional weight from your mind to the paper.
Yeah, exactly.
And I bet the act of writing itself can be quite therapeutic.
Oh, definitely.
Just the physical act of, pen to paper. So we've got getting things out of our heads. And the source also talks about visualization for letting go.
Oh, yeah?
And this technique involves using your imagination, right,
Yeah.
to create this vivid mental picture of yourself actually letting go of whatever it is you're holding on to.
Yes.
Okay, so walk me through this. How exactly do you visualize letting go?
Well, they suggest finding a quiet space, closing your eyes,
Okay.
and imagining yourself holding something heavy,
Okay.
like a heavy object. It could be a rock, a backpack, anything that feels heavy to you.
Yeah.
And then imagine yourself slowly releasing that object,
Okay.
and you feel the weight lift as it falls away.
Hmm.
You can even imagine it dissolving into thin air.
Yeah.
Or floating away on a river, something like that.
I can almost feel that sense of relief just thinking about it.
It's powerful, right?
But how does simply imagining something make it actually go away?
Well, it's about retraining your subconscious mind.
Oh, okay.
By repeatedly visualizing letting go, you're sending a powerful message to your subconscious that you are ready to release whatever you're holding on to.
Interesting. So we've got mindfulness, journaling, visualization,
Yeah.
and now I guess we're moving into some potentially more challenging territory. Forgiveness.
Yeah,
The
forgiveness.
Source spends a lot of time on this,
Mm-hmm.
and I have to admit this has always been a bit of a stumbling block for me.
Yeah, I understand that. Forgiveness is often misunderstood, I think.
Definitely.
Like, it doesn't mean you're condoning hurtful actions or
Right.
pretending everything's okay.
Exactly.
It's about, like, liberating yourself from that emotional burden of carrying anger and resentment.
That's it.
Okay, that makes sense, but how do you actually do it?
Yeah.
Like, how do you forgive someone, especially if they've really hurt you?
Well, the Source emphasizes that forgiveness is a process,
Okay.
not just a one-time event.
Mm.
It might start with simply acknowledging the pain that was caused
Right.
to yourself and maybe to others.
And then it's about choosing to release that pain.
Hmm.
Not because the other person deserves it,
Yeah.
but because you deserve to be free from it.
I'm starting to see how powerful that could be.
Yeah.
It's not about saying what they did was okay, right?
No.
It's about choosing to free yourself from that, like, emotional baggage
Exactly.
that comes with holding on to that anger or resentment.
Yes. Exactly.
And the Source also points out that forgiveness isn't just about other people.
Right.
It's about forgiving ourselves, too.
Oh, that's a tough one.
It is. I think a lot of us struggle with that,
Yeah.
Letting go of past mistakes, feelings of guilt or shame.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
But, like, they emphasize that holding on to those past mistakes, it doesn't do any good.
No, it does.
It keeps us stuck in the past.
Yeah.
And prevents us from moving forward.
Yeah.
They even offer this really powerful affirmation for self-forgiveness.
Oh, what is it?
It's, I release the past and embrace the present moment with love and compassion.
That's beautiful.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like a reminder that we're all human, we all make mistakes,
Yeah,
and we all deserve forgiveness.
absolutely.
And that brings us to another, I guess, surprising connection the Source makes.
Okay,
Gratitude.
gratitude.
This one really threw me for a loop at first.
Yeah, I can see that.
What does gratitude have to do with letting go?
It's all about shifting your perspective.
Okay.
When you focus on what you lack,
Yeah.
it's easy to get caught up in those feelings of scarcity, right? And cling even tighter to what you have.
Right, right.
But when you practice gratitude,
Yeah.
you shift your focus to abundance.
Okay.
You start appreciating what you do have.
Yeah.
And that makes it easier to let go of those things that don't truly matter.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's like if you're constantly focused on what you're missing out on,
Mm-hmm.
you're never going to feel satisfied.
Exactly.
But if you can shift your attention to all the good things in your life,
Yeah.
it creates that sense of like fullness and contentment.
That allows you to let go of those feelings of lack.
Absolutely.
Right, right.
And the Source suggests a really simple practice for cultivating this gratitude.
Oh, what is it?
It's just each day, write down 3 things you're grateful for.
Okay.
It could be something big, like your health, your family, or something small, a beautiful sunset,
Yeah.
delicious meal.
Yeah. Yeah.
The key is to really savor those things and let that feeling of gratitude sink in.
Okay. I'm definitely going to try that.
Awesome.
It sounds like a, simple but really powerful way to shift my mindset.
Definitely.
And I'm starting to see how that shift towards gratitude could make it easier to, let go of the things that aren't serving me.
Exactly.
Speaking of support, the Source also acknowledges that letting go can be tough, especially when you're dealing with, like, deep-seated emotions or past traumas, things like that.
It can be really challenging.
It's okay to ask for help.
Yes, absolutely.
Like, the Source really reminds us that seeking support is a sign of strength.
It is not weakness,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's talking to a therapist, joining a support group,
Yeah.
or just confiding in a trusted friend or family member.
Mm-hmm.
Having that external support can make a world of difference as you
It really can.
navigate this process of letting go.
Absolutely.
This is all starting to make so much sense. We've
Yeah.
covered a lot of ground.
We have.
But there's one more thing I'm curious about. The Source, they talk about letting go as like a path to enlightenment.
Okay.
Now, I'm not sure I'm aiming for full-on enlightenment here,
I hear you.
but I am intrigued by this idea of using these techniques to, create a more fulfilling life,
Yeah, I think that's a great point.
you know?
Enlightenment might sound like this really lofty goal,
It does, yeah.
but it's really just about cultivating that deeper sense of peace, clarity, connection with ourselves and the world around us, and all these practices we've been discussing, mindfulness, forgiveness, gratitude.
Yeah. They're all tools that can help us move in that direction.
So it's not about achieving like some ultimate state of perfection,
Right.
but rather about using these practices to create, a more fulfilling and meaningful life.
Exactly.
Right here, right now.
Right here, right now.
That's awesome. This
Yeah.
has been such a, enlightening conversation.
It is.
But before we wrap up this part of our deep dive,
Yeah.
I want to leave our listeners with something to think about.
Okay.
We've talked about how letting go can bring clarity and help us make decisions that are more aligned with our true selves, right?
Yeah.
So here's a question for you all listening. If letting go brings clarity,
Mm-hmm.
what might be one decision you've been putting off that could become clearer if you practice these techniques?
Great question.
Take some time to reflect on that.
Yeah.
And we'll pick up this conversation in part 2, where we'll explore some real-world applications of these principles.
Sounds good. Welcome back to our deep dive into letting go.
It's amazing to think about all the benefits we just talked about.
Yeah.
From inner peace to spiritual growth, it's a lot.
It is a lot. And now I think we should shift gears a bit
Okay.
and see how these principles can actually play out in real life.
Okay, I'm ready to get practical. So what kind of real-world scenarios are we talking about?
Well, one that comes up a lot in the source material is this idea of letting go of,
Yeah.
a past relationship that's no longer serving you.
Ouch. Yeah, that's a tough one.
It can be so painful.
Yeah.
But think about it in terms of those 5 benefits we discussed.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, if you can let go of a relationship that's not healthy anymore, you're creating space for inner peace,
Yes.
emotional freedom,
Exactly.
all that stuff.
You're freeing yourself from all that baggage.
Yeah.
The resentment, the what ifs, that keep you stuck in the past.
And that enhanced clarity the source talks about.
Yeah.
Maybe that could help you see, what you truly want. Yeah.
In a future relationship,
Yeah.
instead of just repeating the same patterns over and over,
Exactly.
you're able to make choices that are more aligned with your needs
Yes.
and your values.
That's such a great insight.
Yeah.
Letting go, it's not about erasing the past.
Right.
It's about, learning from it and moving forward with that
I
wisdom.
like that.
The source actually shares this story about a woman who was holding on to a relationship that had become totally toxic.
Yeah.
It was draining her energy,
Yeah.
preventing her from doing all the things she wanted to do. But she was terrified of being alone.
Right.
So she just kept clinging to it.
Yeah, I can relate to that fear of being
Yeah.
alone.
Yeah.
It can be so hard to let go of something familiar, even when you know,
Yeah.
deep down,
Yeah.
that it's not good for you.
Exactly. But this woman, she finally reached a breaking point
Okay.
and decided to let go.
Mm-hmm.
It was really painful at first.
Yeah.
But she describes it as the most liberating experience.
Of her life.
That's great.
She was finally able to focus on herself,
Yeah.
rediscover her passions, and eventually she met someone who was a much better fit for her.
That's so inspiring.
Yeah.
It shows that, letting go can really be a catalyst
It
for
can?
positive change, even when it feels really scary.
Absolutely. Now, let's maybe shift gears a bit
Okay.
and talk about work and achievement.
Okay. Work.
Our culture, it really glorifies that hustle mentality, the constant pursuit of more, more, more.
Yeah. Always striving, always pushing, always reaching for that next goal.
Yeah, exactly.
I definitely feel that pressure.
But as the source points out,
Yeah.
that relentless pursuit, it can lead to burnout,
Right.
stress, and this sense of never being enough.
Right. Always feeling behind.
Yes. And they actually quote a study
Oh, wow.
that found that people who prioritize achievement over well-being
Yeah.
are actually more likely to experience anxiety and depression.
That's really interesting.
It is.
It makes me wonder if we've gotten so caught up in the doing that we've totally forgotten about the being.
You've hit the nail on the head.
Yeah.
And that's exactly where letting go comes in.
Okay, I'm curious. How can letting go help in the realm of work and achievement? It seems like it would be the opposite
I know.
of what we're told to do, right?
Yeah.
push harder, strive for more.
Well, remember that connection we talked about between letting go and resilience?
Yeah, the tree bending in the wind.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
It's about learning to adapt,
Okay.
to embrace uncertainty, the ebb and flow of life,
Right.
instead of trying to control every single outcome.
I like that.
The source gives this example of a CEO
Okay.
who was like a total control freak.
Oh, no.
He micromanaged everything and everyone.
Yeah.
And it was creating a really toxic work environment.
Of course.
But he was so afraid of things falling apart.
Right.
He loosened his grip even a little bit.
I've definitely worked for bosses like that.
Oh, I bet. It's exhausting.
And it's so draining.
But this CEO, he eventually realized that his need for control was actually holding him back.
Oh, wow.
It was preventing him from like delegating effectively and empowering his team.
Right. Right.
So he started practicing letting go
Okay.
little by little.
Yeah.
He began trusting his employees more,
Okay.
giving them more autonomy and focusing on the bigger picture
Yeah.
instead of getting bogged down in all the tiny details.
That must have been a huge adjustment for him.
It was, but the results were amazing.
Oh, cool.
His employees felt more valued, more motivated,
Right.
and the company's performance actually improved.
Wow. So it worked.
It did. He learned that letting go, it doesn't mean losing control.
Right.
It means creating a more collaborative and productive environment.
That's a great example of how letting go can actually lead to greater success.
Yeah.
Even in a high pressure environment, like the corporate world.
Exactly. And let's not forget about forgiveness in this whole realm of work and achievement.
Okay.
We talked about how important it is for emotional freedom, but it can also play a big role in our relationship with our work.
Oh, I'm intrigued. How so?
Okay, well, think about those times when you've made mistakes at work
Yeah.
or fallen short of your expectations.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Maybe you missed a deadline, made a bad decision,
Happens.
or just didn't perform as well as you hoped.
We all do that.
Exactly. Nobody's perfect.
Nobody's perfect.
But how often do we actually forgive ourselves
Yeah.
for those missteps?
Not often enough, probably.
Yeah, we often get stuck in self-blame, criticism, which can erode our confidence
Right.
and hinder our progress.
Oh, I'm totally guilty of that.
Yeah,
I can be so hard on myself when I make
sure.
a mistake.
it's a common pattern,
Yeah.
but it's not helpful.
Yeah.
The source emphasizes that forgiveness, in this context,
Mm-hmm.
is about letting go of those past mistakes,
Right.
giving ourselves permission to learn
Yeah.
and grow from them.
That's good.
They even suggest writing a letter to yourself,
Oh, wow.
acknowledging the mistake,
Yes.
expressing remorse if you need to, and then offering yourself forgiveness and compassion.
That's a really powerful idea.
It is.
I've never thought about applying forgiveness to
Riley.
my work life, but it makes total sense. It does, giving yourself a clean slate to move forward without all that baggage from the past.
Exactly. And when we forgive ourselves,
Yeah.
it opens up space for more creativity, innovation, and risk-taking.
Right.
We're less afraid of making mistakes
Yeah.
because we know we can learn from them
Right.
and just keep moving on.
It's like that saying, fail forward, right?
Yeah.
You're not letting those mistakes define you,
Exactly.
but using them as opportunities for growth.
Beautifully put.
Okay, and let's not forget the role of gratitude in all of this.
Oh, yes.
This realm of work and achievement.
Yeah, it's so important.
I'm curious to hear how gratitude ties into letting go.
Mm-hmm.
In this context, we talked about how it shifts our focus from lack to abundance.
Yes.
But how does that play out at work, you know?
Okay, well, imagine you're feeling super stressed at work,
Yeah,
overwhelmed.
for sure.
You're focused on everything you haven't done, all those deadlines, and all the things that could go wrong.
Right, right.
And that mindset, it just creates a sense of scarcity,
Totally.
which can lead to burnout.
I know that feeling all too well.
Yeah. But what if you shifted your focus to what you're grateful for in your work? Maybe you have a supportive team,
Okay.
interesting projects,
Yeah.
or even just the fact that you have a job that allows you to,
Yeah.
pay your bills, pursue your interests.
Okay. I can see how that would be a powerful shift.
Yeah.
Instead of focusing on what's missing, you're appreciating what you have.
Exactly. And that shift can make it so much easier to let go of the things that don't really matter.
Yeah. Right. That makes sense.
The source suggests taking a few minutes every day to just reflect on what you're grateful for at work
Okay.
It could be as simple as writing a gratitude list
Yeah.
or just taking a moment to acknowledge the good things
Yeah. Yeah.
mentally.
It sounds like a really simple but effective way
It
to
is.
cultivate a more positive and fulfilling work experience.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And when we cultivate gratitude,
Yeah.
it becomes so much easier to let go of the things that are draining our energy and preventing us from fully engaging with our work.
This is all making so much sense. It's amazing how these principles of letting go
Yeah.
can be applied to like so many different areas of our lives.
It's really a testament to how universal these concepts are.
Yeah.
Whether we're talking about relationships, work, personal growth, spirituality,
Right.
letting go is a fundamental skill for navigating life with more ease
Yeah.
and fulfillment.
It's about releasing the things that no longer serve us, so we can create space for the things that do.
Yes, and remember, letting go is not a one-time event.
Right.
It's an ongoing practice.
It's a muscle, right?
Yeah.
That we need to strengthen.
Over time.
Yeah.
Exactly. The more we practice letting go,
Yeah.
the more natural it becomes, and the more freedom and joy we experience in our lives.
Okay, before we move on to part 3,
Yeah.
I have a question.
Okay.
We've been talking about all the positive aspects of letting go, but isn't there a risk that if we let go of too much,
Yeah.
we become like apathetic
Right.
or lose our drive?
That's a great question.
The source talks about letting go of unhealthy attachments, but how do you know where to draw the line?
That's a great question, and it's one the source actually addresses directly.
Oh, good.
They acknowledge that there's definitely a difference
Okay.
between letting go of what's no longer serving you
Yeah.
and just becoming, like, indifferent,
Yeah.
detached from life.
Yeah, like checked out.
Exactly. It's a delicate balance.
It is.
And the key, they say, is discernment.
Okay, discernment.
Letting go wisely, it involves, like, really paying attention to your values.
Yeah.
What matters to you? What are your goals, your aspirations?
Right.
It's about releasing the things that are holding you back
Yeah.
from those things
Right.
while still having that sense of purpose
Okay.
and direction.
So it's not about just letting go of everything, like willy-nilly.
No, not at all.
It's about being really selective,
Yes,
intentional about what you choose to release.
exactly. It's about becoming more aware of what you're clinging to, like what fears, what beliefs,
Yeah.
what attachments are driving your actions,
Right.
and then asking yourself, is this helping me?
Yeah.
Is this helping me move towards my goals, or is it keeping me stuck?
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
It's about being mindful, conscious of the choices we're making,
Yes.
even when it comes to letting go.
Exactly. And sometimes letting go might involve, like,
Yeah.
embracing a period of stillness,
Yeah.
introspection,
Yeah.
a time to really reflect on your values, reassess your priorities,
Right.
reconnect with your inner compass.
I like that. So it's not just about action, action, action.
No, sometimes it's about pausing
Right.
and going inward.
Okay, I'm starting to see how letting go can be both liberating and empowering.
It is. It is.
It's not about giving up.
No.
It's about making conscious choices that align with, your true self.
Beautifully put.
And now I think we should maybe dive into some of the challenges that often come up, right?
Of course.
When we try to practice letting go. Because let's be honest, it's not always easy.
It's not. It's not.
That's kind of what I was getting at earlier.
Yeah.
The source talks about all these amazing benefits, but what about those times when letting go feels like impossible?
Right.
When you're holding on to something so tightly, whether it's a relationship, a dream, or even just like a way of thinking,
Right.
and it feels like letting go would be like tearing yourself apart.
Those are the moments when we need to be extra gentle with ourselves,
Yeah.
extra compassionate.
Okay.
The source emphasizes that letting go, it's a process. It's not a switch we can just, like, flip on and off.
Right.
It's like peeling back the layers of an onion.
Oof. Yeah. And sometimes it makes you cry.
That's a great analogy.
Right.
And just like peeling an onion, it takes time, patience, a gentle touch.
Yeah.
There are going to be ups and downs,
Right.
moments of resistance,
Yeah.
and moments of, like, real breakthrough.
So how do we navigate those tough moments? Like, what do we do when we're really struggling to let go?
Well, first and foremost, I think it's important to acknowledge that it's okay to struggle.
Okay.
It's okay to feel those waves of resistance, to have those moments where you feel like you're taking one step forward and two steps back.
It's like we're human.
Exactly.
We're allowed to have feelings.
Yeah, we're allowed to have feelings.
And sometimes the best thing we can do
Yeah.
is just allow ourselves to feel them
Okay.
without judgment.
So it's not about suppressing those emotions or pretending they're not there.
No, not at all.
It's about acknowledging them
Yes.
and letting them, like, move through us.
Exactly. And if those feelings get really overwhelming or you feel stuck in a cycle of pain,
Yeah.
it's so important to reach out for support.
Okay.
We talked about this earlier,
Yeah.
but it's worth emphasizing. Again, you don't have to go through this alone.
Right. The source really stresses that. Like, having a support system, whether it's a therapist, a support group, a trusted friend, or even a spiritual advisor,
Absolutely.
can make a huge difference
It really can.
as you navigate this process of letting go.
Having that external support, it can provide so much
Yeah.
guidance, validation,
Mm-hmm.
a sense of safety, It's like having a lifeline when you feel like you're drowning.
That's a powerful image. And speaking of things that can make us feel like we're drowning,
Oh, yeah.
let's talk about fear.
Fear. Uh-oh.
Because I think fear is one of the biggest obstacles to letting go.
It is. Fear can be so paralyzing.
It can.
It can keep us clinging to things that are no longer serving us.
Yeah.
Simply because we're terrified of, what might happen if we let go?
Exactly. The source actually calls fear the ultimate clinger.
Oh, wow.
And they offer some really great insights on how to work with that fear.
Okay, what do they say?
One of the key points they make is that fear often comes from a lack of trust.
Lack of trust. In ourselves.
It could be in ourselves.
In the universe. Like in what?
It can be all the above,
Yeah.
Fear can make us believe that we're not strong enough to handle things, that we're not worthy of good things.
Right.
Or that the world is just this dangerous and unpredictable place.
Yeah, all of that.
And those beliefs, they can keep us clinging to what's familiar, even when it's hurting us.
Even when it's causing us pain.
Exactly. So the question is, how do we overcome that fear?
Yeah, how do we cultivate trust when it feels like everything's falling apart?
Well, one thing the source suggests is to start by just identifying those fears.
Okay.
Like, what are you actually afraid of losing? What are you afraid of facing?
Right.
Once you've identified them, you can start to challenge them.
Okay.
Question whether they're really true.
Right.
Explore different perspectives.
So it's about shining a light on those shadows.
Yes.
Exposing them for what they really are, which is often illusions or distortions.
Exactly. And as you start to dismantle those fear-based beliefs, you create space for courage and trust to emerge.
That's beautiful.
It's like clearing out the cobwebs in your mind,
Yeah.
allowing the light of truth to shine through.
Makes me think of that quote. Courage is not the absence of fear, but action in the face of fear.
Beautifully put.
Now, another challenge we might face on this journey is that feeling of grief or loss.
Yes, absolutely.
This is especially true when we're letting go of something,
Yeah.
That was once really important to us, like a relationship, a dream,
Right.
even a sense of identity.
It can be really hard.
Yeah, letting go can feel like a death,
It can.
even if it's ultimately good for us.
The source acknowledges this and emphasizes that it's important to let ourselves grieve.
Okay.
It's natural to feel sadness,
Yeah.
anger, confusion, even emptiness
Right.
when we let go of something that was a big part of our lives.
So it's not about trying to, bypass those feelings or pretend they're not there.
Nope.
It's about honoring them.
Yes.
Giving ourselves permission to feel them fully.
Exactly. And as we move through that grieving process,
Yeah.
we create space for healing
Okay.
and acceptance.
It's like clearing out the old to make way for the new.
That's such a great way to put it. It makes me realize that letting go isn't about forgetting the past
Right.
or erasing it.
It's about integrating it
Yes.
into our story, our understanding of ourselves, without letting it define our present or future.
Beautifully said.
And remember, letting go doesn't mean we have to lose those things completely.
That's right.
We can still cherish the memories, the lessons we learned,
Yes.
the growth we experienced.
Absolutely.
It's about letting go of the attachment, the clinging, the need to hold on,
Yes.
while still holding the essence of those experiences in our hearts.
That's such a beautiful way to frame it.
It's like letting go of the shell but keeping the pearl.
I love that.
And speaking of pearls,
Okay.
let's talk about self-forgiveness.
Yes. Self-forgiveness.
Because I think that's one of the most precious gifts we can
Absolutely.
give ourselves
Absolutely.
on this journey of letting go.
Self-forgiveness is so important.
It is, but it's also one of the hardest things to do.
It can't.
It's so easy to get stuck in that cycle of self-blame and guilt.
Yeah.
Especially when we've made mistakes or hurt others, you know?
The source talks about how we often hold ourselves to a higher standard than anyone else.
Oh, for sure.
We expect ourselves to be perfect.
Yeah.
And when we inevitably fall short, we just beat ourselves up.
Oh, I'm so guilty of that.
It's a common pattern.
It's like I have this inner critic that's constantly pointing out all my flaws, reminding me of all the ways I've messed up.
It's a common pattern, but it's not helpful.
It's not, no.
The source emphasizes that we all make mistakes.
We do.
It's part of being human.
Right, yeah.
And holding on to those past mistakes, carrying that burden of guilt and shame, it just prevents us from moving forward.
Right. It's like dragging a heavy anchor behind you.
Exactly.
Weighing you down, preventing you from reaching your full potential.
So how do we break free from that?
Yeah, how do we learn to forgive ourselves?
Well, one approach the source suggests is to start by acknowledging the pain we've caused,
Okay.
both to ourselves and to others. It's about taking responsibility for our actions
Yeah.
without drowning in shame.
So it's about finding that balance, right?
Yes,
Between owning our mistakes and not letting them define us.
exactly. And then we can offer ourselves compassion and understanding,
Okay.
just like we would offer it to a loved one who had made a mistake.
Right.
We can remind ourselves that we were doing the best we could at the time.
Yeah, with the knowledge and the resources that we had.
Exactly. It's like giving ourselves the same grace and forgiveness that we would extend to someone we love.
That's beautiful.
And as we cultivate that self-compassion, we create space for forgiveness to emerge.
It's like releasing that heavy weight
Yeah.
and finally being able to breathe again.
Wow. This conversation has been so powerful.
It has.
I'm starting to see letting go in a whole new light.
Me too.
It's not about giving up or denying our emotions.
Right.
It's about choosing to release what no longer serves us
Yeah.
so that we can create space for growth, healing, and a more fulfilling life.
It's about embracing the impermanence of life
Yes.
and trusting that we can adapt, evolve, and create something new.
And it's about remembering that we're not alone in this.
Yeah, we're not alone.
There is support available, and the rewards of letting go, they're immeasurable.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into letting go.
It's been a pleasure.
We hope this has inspired you to explore this practice in your own life.
Yes.
And remember, you're not alone on this path. Keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep letting go of what no longer serves you.